Ladies and gentlemen, for Town Hall Session 4, we're going to have Interworks presented by Dr. Tommi Chen of UUM on the topic Machinery of the Internet Economy. Dr. Tommi Chen.
Okay, good afternoon. It's nice to be back in this environment. Now, in my career, which is pretty long, I've gone through many career paths, and I must say this environment is my favorite. The academia, the internet community. I think that's the path, the career that I had my best time. Okay. Because we are in a Ministry of Higher Education, someone asked me to set a test question. So, by the end of today, you have to answer this question, or else you can't go out. Or else you have to stay back for remedial lessons. This is not okay. Now, this talk will be a bit different from what you are going to hear in this conference. It is not about technology, but it is how technology has moved up the chain to influence businesses and the social economy. Okay? Now, how did technology do that? Basically, you must be aware of this. The internet is not merely a network. I think most people associate internet purely as technology. It isn't, you know. It's not a network. It's not just a network. It is how it is used affects our day-to-day activities. It changes the conduct of business. Now, a great example is, of course, Uber, right? Uber is a company that depends totally on the internet. Without the internet, Uber doesn't exist, correct? Yes, and Uber is big business. So that's an example of technology becoming business. So this talk is about that. Now, how I got to this is this. When I ran a unit called TechNet at the National University of Singapore, TechNet is an ISP, the first ISP in Singapore. Being an operator of an ISP is different from a user. You see certain things in the environment. I saw that the community was a bit different from what we are used to. The people in there are much more open. They collaborate. They love collaborating. They love to share. Now, you know, in Asia, our culture is we don't share that much, you know. We keep a lot of things to ourselves. But the community loves to share. So this got me very interested, and it started me on a path to try to figure out why that is so, how it works. That was more than 20 years ago. In the last few years, I actually sat down in all my spare time, up to 1 o'clock in the morning, trying to figure it out. And this is something, see what you think. Before that, TechNet is actually my rent or in Singapore is Singaran, with a difference. We actually allow commercial entities to join. In fact, there's about 30 to 40% commercial companies in TechNet, which is, like I say, like MyRan. Now, at that point, we are not supposed to do that, because Singtel, the Singapore Telecoms, is very powerful. They do not like such things to happen. But we managed to convince them by saying this: commercial companies are starting to get to R&D. Singapore at that point was trying to promote R&D. So I said, hey, commercial companies need to do R&D. They should join the network. So we convinced them that. But the way we qualify them is this: if the commercial company come to us and say, we are doing paper research, or even doing a survey, you say, okay, we tick in the box, you can join. Basically, we're using a light touch. To me, it's very simple, If something is good for the economy, good for a country, just do it. Forget Singtel. So that's how TechNet is partially commercial as well. That's how we did it last time. Now, TechNet became Pacific Internet for those who are in the internet business. Pacific Internet, of course, has been bought by Telstra. That's it. Now, when Telekom Malaysia wanted to set up TMNet, they found out that I was a Malaysian in Singapore who was involved in the ISP business, so they asked me back to help them set up TMNet. So I was the first CEO of TMNet in Malaysia, and that's how I returned. In between, I set up a few internet startups. That's not what we're going to talk today about, but it's a very interesting journey anyway. But we'll start now. Before we do, I'm going to try to keep this within 5 minutes. Let me set the clock. Okay, we all know Airbnb, right? Is it the hotel sector? Is it tech sector? Maybe, because a lot of media say that these guys are in the tech sector. I agree. Whoever said no, it's not in the tech sector. Now, this is my interpretation. You may interpret differently, and I would love to hear your view. Now, Airbnb owns no physical assets, correct? Its only asset is information. It profits from information. So, I think Airbnb is in information business, in hospitality. That's what I think. In fact, I'm going to make a prediction here that within 10 years, the stock markets of the world will have a category called information. Today, there's no such thing. And also, Fortune magazine, whoever reads Fortune magazine, they have a list of largest companies in the world. There's no category called information. I believe within 10 years, there will be. And this is the reason. Think about it. Think about it. These are all information. These are all businesses like Airbnb that depends on information. They are essentially information business. Internet is changing the world, so things like this happen. Okay, so Airbnb is in the information business. What about WeChat and WhatsApp? Are they not the new telecom? Actually, yes, let me try to explain. Now, when I say the new telecom, it means the old telecom, where you use telecom for voice and messaging, the telcos for messaging. But you know that they are moving towards IM services. That's what I meant for that. Now, today is not IM, yes, messaging has gone a lot to the internet, but voice is not. The reason is broadband quality in Malaysia is still not there. Until it is much better, more of that will migrate over to the internet. Second, you need higher penetration. You need maybe 95%. If not, this won't happen. Now, never mind, I think within 10 to 20 years, it's going to move towards that direction because the internet, the design of the internet forces change in the business, yeah? Now, in the meantime, in the last 10 to 15 years, your phone bill has gone down, right? Voice calls has gone down. Why? It's because of the internet. Because telcos are starting to move the voice traffic onto the internet infrastructure. Because internet infrastructure costs maybe 10 to 20% of the traditional telco infrastructure. Already they are moving it. So you are seeing that the calls are going down. Now, not only that, you are seeing international calls, roaming going down. But if you understand how the internet infrastructure is designed, how it works, actually the idea of international calls and roaming are nonsense, you know. We say the internet is global, right? It is borderless, right? We say that. So, if you make a phone call using WeChat to your friend in Sydney, do you pay an international rate? You see, to the internet world, there's no such thing as local, international. It's just internet. Think that way. Actually, telcos, banks are trying to transform. But they don't think that way, you know. They think of internet as technology and they just copy, copy, copy. That's the wrong way. You must think of the fundamental way of how it works. So if you travel to UK, you send an email back to KL, do you pay roaming? Right. This is exactly why the characteristics of the internet, being borderless, impacts business. So in time, there'll be no such thing as roaming, no such thing as international calls. In fact, all this will be free, right? Yes? Actually, in the EU, they have already mandated there's no roaming costs within the EU. This trend will go global. If you ask me, I can tell them that 10 years ago. If you study the internet, you can make such predictions. It's nothing great, you know. If you know the internet well, you can do it. You can do that. Are they the future of music? Maybe, yeah. Future of money? Maybe, yeah. Well, okay, now, I'll come back to this in a bit, not sure. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this. The rules have changed. Because of technology, because of internet, the rules have changed. Because the rules have changed, it affects the social economy. It affects social. Facebook is social, right? It affects business. It affects the country's economy. So let's divert a bit to this. Is BitNet the future? Bitcoin? I think it's too, where's the pointer? Doesn't work. Okay, I can't point. Never mind. I think it's too early to call. Maybe a fork of Bitcoin may do it, because Bitcoin itself has certain limitations. Maybe a fork or a fork of it may do it. But blockchain is the real deal. And in my view, as far as money is concerned, physical money, blockchain indirectly, together with technologies such as peer-to-peer money, electronic money, is going to reduce currency usage. Now, within the countries, Bank Nagaras and all those, they want to reduce paper money because it's a very expensive thing. Yeah, it costs a lot of money to have paper money. So, China is already doing it. They're using blockchain to try to reduce cash. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay, now let's look at the changes ahead. How does it work? You all use Facebook, right? I use Facebook, but the last time I logged in was 3 years ago. I'm more a LinkedIn user. Okay, we know that it is based on social. There's no pointer. As a model, crowdsourcing enables it, correct? If we do not use Facebook, Facebook disappears. So social is an important model of Facebook. It sells ads with the data, correct? Now let me just quickly go down here. This is another way to look at it. Another way to look at social media and internet companies. Facebook is the modern factory. We are the factory workers. You know that? You are actually the factory workers. We produce the raw material data. Facebook processes the input, uses the finished product information, sells it to support ads. This is actually how it works. So in my mind, that is how the information economy works. Now this is, of course, the factory of today. It's quite similar, right? Raw material goes in, the factory works on it, comes out the finished product. Very similar, but of course there are differences. Essentially, the factory has been replaced by a digital platform, data analytics. So if any of you are involved with transformation of companies, digitization, you must realize this, the production in a digital economy, that the digital platform is replacing the factories. So this is what I call goods and services production in the digital economy, and I'm going to spend maybe 2 minutes on this, because it is a very important concept for those doing transformation, for example. Now, I see some Ford cars out in the car park. I think Henry Ford is a great businessman. Ford has been around for more than 150 years, but to me, Henry Ford's contribution to the world is bigger than Ford Motors. Before Henry Ford came in, you make a car in a factory, it's here. And the workers will just come, bring the raw material, work on it, and then when it's finished, it's moved out. You guys know about the moving assembly lines? Do I need to explain it? Basically, in the moving assembly lines, the unfinished product moves across assembly line, and then it is worked on. Okay, don't worry about that. By inventing the moving assembly lines, he improved the productivity of car production 7 to 8 times. If there's any economists here, you will realize the impact of that. 7 to 8 times. The result is that the cost of cars, whoom, went right down. So when he sells Model T Ford, the price is so much lower. So people like you and me can buy. Before that, only the elites, maybe the politicians, can afford cars. But after he invented the moving assembly line, we all, the plebeians, can afford cars. Now, he not only made cars from a small-scale production to mass market. That's one contribution. The main contribution is this. Because the productivity gain of his method, the other factories in US, UK, the whole world copied the method, and the entire productivity of the whole world increased 5 to 10 times. Can you imagine the economic impact of 5 to 10 times productivity? It's massive, and I think that is the impact. Okay, I use that to give an example of crowdsourcing. I see that crowdsourcing has the same impact as the assembly lines. So I'll just read it out to you, okay? Crowdsourcing is the equivalent in the information age, creating new era factories using data as raw material, manufacturing informational and quasi-informational products, and adding values to physical ones. You think about it, most of the internet services you are using, even physical ones, has aspects of this. Instead of factory workers, it is us, the consumers, who willingly, unwittingly became the factory hands, okay? Like I say, if you're doing transformation, think about it. Okay, I don't have time for that. So let's continue, because the word consumer is very interesting. I'm going to use to look at consumer. Look, who owns the taxis? You know, right? Who supplies the products? Who owns the rooms? Who owns the data? Who does the work? Yes, this is a consumer. Now, in the internet economy, by the way, internet economy also means digital economy or digitization. They are all the same thing, yeah? We have been redefined. Wonderful, right? We are no more just men or women. A consumer consumes. That's where the term consumer comes from, because we consume. But we also produce now. Actually, they should reuse the word consumer to something else, because now a consumer consumes and produces. So again, if you are doing digitization work, think about that. Don't think of consumers as just buying. Think of consumers as helping you produce, do something for your company. Digitization largely derives from this. Okay, you think through this. If the banks think through this, they will do better, actually. They will transform better. Okay, this is my last section. I'm talking about the rules. And when I say the rules, what I mean is the methods, the digital techniques, the business models, management principles, what I call the machinery of the internet economy. Now, there are something like 40 to 50 of these rules. If I apply Facebook and apply the rules to all these companies that I'm going to analyze, you're going to be here till midnight. Not tonight, next week. So we don't want that, right? So I just pick up a few items, the important ones, to show you. We already know that Facebook business model is social. Then you say, Free, hey, hello, free is a business model. Strange, right? Open source is free, right? Okay. Today, even before the internet, free is a business model. Free newspapers, free radio stations. But free is in the periphery of business models. It is a periphery. It's only a small part of the business model. But in the internet economy, free has been elevated to the top of business models, among the top. Correct? If Telecom Malaysia invented Facebook, do you think they were charged for it? For sure, they were charged for it because old model, yeah? And you will not use Facebook. Facebook will not happen. It's because of the free model that helped. Now, personalization is the same. I think your page, the ads that you see, the content that you see, the video that you see is personalized to you. It's another item that is a very important tool to digitization. It has moved up to become an important tool. Now, Grab is essentially a P2P model. Yeah? P2P is peer-to-peer. The consumer with a car provides a service to transport another consumer to a destination. Consumer to consumer, peer-to-peer. Yeah? Consumer peer-to-peer is one crowdsourcing model. In crowdsourcing, there are a few models. Peer-to-peer is one of them. They do ratings, they do platforms. I better move on. Alibaba. They are a peer-to-peer marketplace. It is a marketplace because they sell a variety of products, yeah? But it is heavily a peer-to-peer model. Now, most of us has used ratings, right? Crowdsourcing technique called ratings. You read hotel ratings, right? Hotel reviews and whatever. You think nothing of ratings, right? We think nothing. The banks may think, so what? Ratings are just ratings. Consider this, okay? What has provided a lifeline to Alibaba is the user-generated rating systems for thousands of online merchants that Alibaba would not have been able to police. Frankly, if not because of crowdsourcing and ratings, they would have spent hundreds of millions to do the same thing. Hundreds of millions, and still they probably cannot do a good job because China is so big and their vendors are in the rural areas too, some are rural, so you got to climb a mountain to go and check them out. You can't do that. But internet, you can. Ratings is a powerful tool. Don't think of it as simple review. It has value. Okay, Amazon is interesting. Huh? We think that Amazon and Alibaba are e-commerce, right? Yeah, you're right, they are e-commerce. But they are on very different model. While these guys are actually an internet model, Amazon is more a traditional retailer, but very tech-heavy, very tech-heavy. Now, if I was a bank, I would study the Amazon model to see the impact of Amazon on the retail business. Then they understand what is transformation, okay? The difference between, say, Amazon and the existing retailer, Sears. If you have been to US, you have been to a Sears department store, right? Is this. If you ask Sears, do you use a lot of technology? They will say yes. They spend as much money as Amazon, but they still cannot compete with Amazon, They spend the same money, they use technology, they copy Amazon, doesn't work. The difference is this. Jeff Bezos, when he started Amazon, he knew internet is going to change the world, change the business. So he lives and breathes the internet culture. Let me give you one example. It sounds very abstract, huh? In Amazon and in a lot of the internet startups, customer service is the first law. Today, if you ask Telecom Malaysia and all other companies, is customer service important? They all say yes, right? But actually, yes, but they are not in the top 10 list. They are probably top 10, maybe 8 or 9. You come to Amazon, is on number 1. I'll give you one example of how they do it. I saw an interview on Bloomberg. This lady was in charge of the Amazon platform, the website, yeah? But this lady is only in charge of one part of the website because they have a huge team developing things on the platform. Remember, the platform is the business these days. It's no more just a website. It is the business. So this lady is in charge only to increase the response time of Amazon website. She said this, which woke me up, okay? If I can increase response time to a customer response time by 0.1 second, I will increase revenue to Amazon by 50 million US dollars. 0.1 second. Huh? Now, if you walk to one of the retailers, big retailers in Malaysia, say you work in, I don't know, what's a big retailer? Anyway, one of the big retailers, and you tell the boss, can you give me 2 million ringgit to improve the response time by 0.1 second? What do you think the boss will say? Yeah, I don't use 4-letter words, but if I'm the boss, you probably use 4-letter words. Run away. But you know, Amazon spends tens of millions to increase it by 0.1 second every year. Okay? That is customer-centric, and this is the internet way, actually. If you want to do internet business, you must understand the internet culture, what I call the internet way. Existing business, very hard to understand this. They cannot get it. Okay, Airbnb, I just want to show you one thing in these two slides, Google and Airbnb. Search. In Google search, you agree that search is the business model, correct? It is the entire business. But in Airbnb, search is a technique. It's very important, but its main business model is P&P. So the point I'm trying to make is sometimes these elements in different environments is used differently. Now, do you realize that Google is using a crowdsourcing method based on peer-to-peer? You heard of PageRank? PageRank is how Google started, right? Basically, PageRank is this. A website rates another website. Peer-to-peer, website to website. So if my website has more links to it, means the content is better. It goes up the ranking. Now, I know a lot of you are in academia. Can you see something similar? In academic, do you see something similar? Yeah, it is your research paper. So in research paper, if yours is cited more, it goes up, right? So I wonder whether Sergey and those Google guys got some idea from the academia because they were at Stanford when they conceived this idea. I'm actually at the second last foil, almost the end. Maybe I'll just say something very little about a simple model. Simple model is something, again, that a lot of current business will not understand. You look at the Google page, it's just a search box, correct? Nothing else. This is called a simple model, okay? They design it very simply. The reason for that is this. They want the user to go in, focus on what he's doing, get out. They do not want to be distracted. So if any of you doing website design for clients, don't use the old model, you know. The old model of website design is to plaster the website with a lot of things. That's the old newspaper model. You don't do that. Of course, it depends on what type of website you're doing. Try the simple model. By the way, the simple model has its roots on the internet. Did you know that the internet itself is a simple model? TCP/IP is a very simple protocol compared to OSI. Did you know that in the early days of the internet, that there were many groups vying to become the internet? One of them is the OSI, okay, under the ISO and ITU. Why did OSI lose the 7 layers? Because TCP/IP simplifies things. So, a bit of things like that. I'm about at the end. This is an example of some of the rules. I say there's about 40 to 50, so these are just some of them. Very important is that open culture. Everything, the foundation of everything is the open culture, but open culture is a bit hard to explain to people. Huh? I actually have a few slides to explain, but I'm going to stop here. Open is this. North Korea is North Korea open? Yeah. Compared to Malaysia. Malaysia is open, more open. Well, now it's less open, but but compared to North Korea, it's more open. So openness is very important if you are trying to understand how the internet economy works. Because everything here is based on open. Everything. I don't have time. I do not want to hold you back, so I'm going to stop here. I'll just end with this slide. I was going to talk about open source. Open source is not software, actually. Open source is much more than software. It is a foundation for management principles, business model, and digital techniques. You heard of Agile, right? Lean. These are all management principles that came from the open source model. I'm not going to talk about it. I just end here. So, yeah, if there's any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Doctor. Do we have any questions from the audience? No question? Must be a very good presentation. They understand everything. Thank you very much, Dr. Tommi Chen of UUM. A big round of applause for Dr. Tommi.